Hey friends, this is Joseph Maynor. So this is going to be kind of an unusual video in the sense that I'm going to be talking about something that I usually don't talk about. Because I don't want to look bad. I don't want to look like a dick. I don't want to look unstable. I don't want to look like an addict. I don't want to look pathetic in my own eyes. But all of these are in my shadow. And all of these can offer wisdom if they're considered in the right way. You have to kind of take the perspective that everything that's happened in your life is good. Even your blow-ups, your addictions, your alcohol addiction, right? Your social media addiction, your people-pleasing addiction, your hope addiction, whatever it is. And realize that's just part of what it is to be here. And to realize that those flaws that you see in yourself, those are true. And true meaning real. And mistakes that you've made, those are true too, meaning real. Sometimes you've made the same mistake over and over again. Well, that couldn't have been otherwise, right? It just had to be that way. But I would argue on some level, putting anything that's been real in your life in the shadow is a mistake. It's like, I don't want to see the real. Because I want to believe something else that presupposes a condition other than what was real from me in the past, which no longer exists. And I want to focus specifically on when you had a breakup or a meltdown with somebody, right? It feels like a huge failure, like a huge bad. And it can feel that way for both people moving forward as well. But it had to be that way, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. It had to be that way because energetically, both systems participated in that, and one system pulled the switch and said no more. Right? And I know we want to believe in emotional mastery and relationship mastery, but I think that this is too much of the masculine. This is too much of the idea that we got to hold everything together. Right? You're under no obligation to hold anything together. I think the better thing to do is just to, yes, you want to question yourself. You want to give to other people. You want to play the second fiddle and the good team player. But when things break down, you have two options. The first option is to be the hero in that move, and the second option is to be the unfortunate victim. And who's to say what's going to happen? But I would say, this is where you need the human masculine. It's like when you decide to separate from a system, you have to do it now, right? Now it's on you. You got to take care of yourself more because you have less support, although you probably didn't have much support anyway, right? From this person or this system. That's why you split. But the reality is that that's less support that you're going to have moving forward. And so you have to make your own way. Not just spiritually, but also materially. And this is something that, I kind of find weird, but although I try not to promote drugs, on my channel, I find it weird that like everybody promotes like all kinds of different drugs except for certain drugs, right? I mean, I find that to be kind of biased. Like, well, alcohol is always bad, or amphetamines are always bad, or, right? I mean, but then people talk about how great psychedelics are, or how great weed is, or I don't really draw those kinds of distinctions. I mean, I can see how people can go down a drug spiral that can ruin their life, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy. And even a problem with alcohol or ketamine or pills or whatever it is, I mean, that's no good either, right? But in certain ways, I mean, I don't want to be the person who's going to defend alcohol here, but they don't call it alcohol truth serum by mistake, right? Sometimes, like, I'm not suggesting anybody drink alcohol. I'm just saying that, like you can milk the brilliant insight out of every aspect of experience, right? Including when you've drank alcohol, right? That's not all bad. I mean, sometimes alcohol can give you a kind of clarity, right, as to, like, they call it, when people are like overly honest, like, I love you, man. You're my best friend. Or, you know what I mean? Some people are angry when they get drunk. Some people are funny when they get drunk. Some people are like super emotional. But the point is that I don't buy into the idea, and maybe I'm not alone here, but I also don't want to encourage people to drink alcohol because, I've struggled with alcohol myself, and I'm still kind of struggling with it too. That there are pros and cons to alcohol, just like there are pros and cons to any kind of experience. And honestly, I'm not going to be one to sit here and say that alcohol is, just not anything that's useful on the path. I think that's naive, overly selective, especially if you're somebody who's like advocating for psychedelics, right? I mean, how many times do I want to torture myself doing mushrooms, right? Come on, right? How many times do we need to trip out and fuck our minds on psychedelics? I mean, is that any worse than fucking yourself up on alcohol, or any better than fucking yourself up on alcohol? Either way, you're fucking yourself up, right? It's the awareness that doesn't change. See? And so no matter what your state is, no matter what the state is, it's the awareness and the intuition and the recognition of what feels right and what feels wrong in a solid way to you. In a way, it's sort of like finding the order in the chaos. That's what the masculine judgment is. And sometimes that masculine judgment can be, I need to separate from this person or from this community. And so sometimes that judgment can be destructive, and I can understand why communities would have a problem with this, right? Because if you have a vested interest in controlling somebody or holding together a tribe, you're not going to like when somebody else breaks up with you, because that's going to give you less support. But you always have to respect the individual who breaks away from the tribe and then gets his shit together and goes his own way more productively, or her way, right? Because the masculine is not a female or a male, right? It's a more fundamental, or less fundamental, actually, maybe. It's a way to organize theory. So the human masculine is kind of stage red, stage orange, stage yellow. The human masculine may not be the nicest person in the world, but they pay their own bills. They find a way to survive independently. Okay, friends, so we're a third of the way through this video. I'll come back and we will continue on. Just give me 1 second. Okay, friends, welcome back. I'm so excited to make this video because I feel like a higher consciousness person having this kind of realization or re-realization is actually very rare. But the essence of the human masculine is that I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I don't care how you feel about me. Like my life is my life, and I'm gonna live it my way, right? Stage red, stage orange. And even if that means that I don't get your support anymore, so be it, right? That there's something about me needing to move forward on my own and leave you behind, that although that's unfortunate for both of us, for the loss of support, it's something that I feel like I need to do for whatever reason. Like I feel like this energy or this source of truth is not like sufficient enough in my life, that I'm willing to take the risk of failure to strike out on my own and make some kind of radical decision, like, moving to another city, changing your profession, splitting up in a relationship maybe. But with this comes a responsibility. Now you can no longer fuck around. You can no longer assume that somebody has your back. So you really do have to learn the human masculine. You have to learn how to survive on your own. How to make your own money, how to pay your own bills. And although you will work with people in the future, you're also very aware that you can never really truly give your power away as the human masculine to anybody else. And this is actually really difficult to do, like if you're in like the helping professions, right, where you feel like, your job is to kind of assist somebody else. Like if you're a nurse or a paralegal or a secretary, like in a way, your job is to assist somebody else. And so you're like the supportive role, right? But what happens when that job just dies for whatever reason, and now you got to survive on your own? You're going to be walking around blind without a cane, but in the human masculine direction, see? You're not going to know how to like hold your middle finger up in the air and actually win that way. I mean, look at Donald Trump or Elon Musk or some of these other people, right? That's what they do. Or, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, another good example. I did it my way. Frank Sinatra. Yeah, it's fine to do it your way, but you got to get paid too. You got to be able to survive. So there are people who survive, like if you look at the 10 sources of truth model, you have the human feminine, which is all about I survive by being a good human link. You have the human masculine, which is that I survive by being a good human node. You have the human marriage, which is that we survive by being committed to each other and weathering storms, but maintaining our relation. You have the divine feminine, which is that we survive regardless of what we think from a human perspective. Like the whole is actually what survives. And the parts are kind of an ephemeral appearance. The divine masculine is that I survive as consciousness, regardless of what the human is doing or regardless of what the divine feminine is doing. The divine marriage is that we survive as the divine, regardless of whether we think of the divine as the whole or whether we think of the divine as a part, the feminine and the masculine respectively. The marriage between the human and the divine is that reality survives regardless of whether we think in terms of the human or whether we think in terms of the divine. Actually, both of those seem to be here at the same time and be okay to be here, even though they're paradoxically kind of inconsistent with each other. The integral, right? We do believe that, we should continue to do personal development work. We should continue to grow and change, but this can also be offset by the transcendent, which is that how much has your attempt to grow and change just been a kind of hopeful illusion, a distraction, and a resistance to just taking better practical actions in your life? And then ultimately there's the marriage between the integral and the transcendent, meaning that, you can do both of those at the same time. You can do personal development and also realize too that I can trust myself and allow a very kind of practical existence too. So on the one hand, I can allow my life to be what it is and to learn the lessons of what is actually here. But on the other hand, which is the feminine, on the other hand, I can have a hope that the future will improve for me and for others that I relate with. And I can allow the marriage or the link between both of those to be here at the same time. But I think because of the fact that we're so focused on the divine, sometimes we lose track of the human, and we put the human masculine in the shadow. It was interesting in the book Spiral Dynamics, Beck and Cohen talk about how Stage Orange has traditionally been kind of in India's shadow. Not anymore. If you've been to India recently, you'll see that they've really gone really hard in the orange direction in certain ways. But orange is put in the shadow because it's thought of as ego, right? But actually, if you're somebody who has a lot of ego, you have that in your shadow, you try to hate that about yourself, and you try to be all things to all people, and then you fail that way over and over and over again. And your ego comes out anyway. And it just seems disgusting to you because it's in your shadow. That's no way to live either, right? That's the kind of problem when you're emphasizing the divine and you're putting the human in the shadow. I feel like everything that happens in your life happens for some kind of a lesson for you. And I feel like reality is always telling you that your intuition is wrong, or that your judgment is wrong, or that you're crazy, right? Well, one of the ways to integrate the human masculine is that I'm okay with my crazy, whatever that may be, or not. As long as I survive. Nobody hates a crazy person who survives well. What people don't like are crazy people that interface with them that cause them problems. But then the question is who was the crazy person in that relationship really? I I think the human masculine cannot think of himself as being crazy entirely. Because when you think of yourself as crazy, you undermine yourself. I don't care how crazy you are. You still have an obligation to survive and to make money and live, right? Hopefully in a better way. But, if you're still here, you're surviving. You're doing it some way. Okay, friends, so I'll come back and we'll do the final 10 minutes. Just give me 1 second. All right, friends. So I just want to tell you guys that I think this video is probably going to be on almost all of your guys' shadow, including mine in the shadow, which is that I'm singing the praises of ego in this video, human ego. And I'm going to say it like this. Human ego is the human masculine, the individual ego. But you also have the human feminine, which is the tribe ego, the group ego, the cult ego, right? The us ego, right? The ego that you have as coworkers, or you're in a relationship with somebody, you have an ego, right? You're the link between the two of you you're trying to sustain. And a lot of spirituality, because, we grow up with ego. Stage red obviously comes before stage blue. Stage orange comes before stage green. Stage yellow comes before stage turquoise. So ego is seen as a kind of nuisance to getting along with people in the world. But sometimes that's good. I was watching a video from Dave Mustaine talk about how one of the reasons why he's been so successful is by doing things his way and not conforming to what everybody else wants. But see, as the human masculine, you have to have a vision and a way to survive on your own. Some way to survive on your own. Don't worry about thriving, just surviving on your own, because you have to be willing to say, any relationships that I bring on board, I'm the alpha. See, this is what the feminine doesn't like. The feminine doesn't like I'm the alpha. Because that's the glorification of the individual, putting the individual on a pedestal. But see, this is part of what's here, too. A lot of us are weak in this. This doesn't mean that you have to become a cult leader or that you have to become a narcissistic asshole. You could just be somebody who starts a small business and is the boss and makes money that way. Moves to a more affordable place to live so they have more control over what they do for money. See, when you live in a really expensive area, you got to earn a lot more money, which means that, you either have to rely on connections, or you actually have to start a business that makes that much more money. But that can actually put you in a bad situation. Again, going back to alcohol, I'm not a huge fan of alcohol because, I think it causes a lot of problems. It can cause diabetes, liver damage, a host of other, kinds of problems, an addiction problem that can be really bad. But I'm not going to put psychedelics over alcohol, right? Alcohol is just another experience. It's not a stupid thing. You know what I mean? It's like, get off your fucking preferences. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why people drink alcohol. It offers certain benefits, or otherwise people wouldn't do it. It's not just like going to sleep. And even going to sleep, let's say, and I'm not talking about any other kinds of drugs, but I'm just saying, in the moment, people feel like that's a way for them to actually heal themselves too. So, I feel like, if you privilege one class of drugs and you want to come down on another class of drugs, be careful there. There are arguments you can make, but You can also look really stupid too. You can look like you're just, huffing your own fucking perspective. But what I wanted to point out in this video is that regardless of like how you connect with your intuition and your insights, part of being the human individual or the human masculine is trusting your insights. Like this is wisdom that's coming down to me. This isn't just some kind of delusion or I'm crazy or I'm stupid. No, this is like the universe is telling you that there's something wrong, and you're feeling like maybe you're feeling a little suicidal or something like that, right, for a while. Not because of this, but because maybe for something else. Like your life is going wrong, but you're like getting this information. We tend to think, oh, I'm screwed up. No, it's like this is just reality trying to give you, a kind of thing where it's just like you got to make a change. You got to make a change that's way less comfortable than what you're currently considering. Like there's something about your life that needs to be like shooken up in a profound way, like a deep way. A deeper way than you're considering. But because of the fact that you don't want to go there, you discount it and you start feeling like I'm the problem, right? I'm the one who has to change. Well, how are you going to change? Have you actually shown that you can change that way? Or has this always been a hope of yours, right? It's always been a hope of yours, but is it what you do all the time? Because if it's not what you do all the time, I don't know, are you going to be able to do it? You got to find a way to survive with what you're already doing all the time. I think that's what life purpose is about. Even if it's about, becoming a fucking, selling all your belongings, buying a motorhome and touring the country or whatever it is. I mean, who's to say? But I'm just saying that or living in a cave somewhere. I mean, at least you will be surviving doing what you're already doing. But if you feel like you're bleeding doing what you're already doing, and you're thinking like, I got to change to get better, but that never seems to happen, something's got to give there. You either got to give up that hope, which is an idea, or you got to change your lifestyle such that what you're already doing, with maybe some tweaks, is good enough. See? And you can stall on this and waste time and waste money too. This is a very difficult thing because you may have to shake up things in your life that aren't working. Things in your life that, like, it's just not the way you want to live. It's not the way you want to be. It's not the way you want to relate. And that conflict will be brought to you, and you're going to have to disappoint other people too, right? But they know too, right? They know, or else because they're giving you shit too, right? They're giving you shit too. So it's like nobody is ignorant of what's happening in these kinds of situations, and but I think ultimately the human masculine is that, yes, at some point it's probably best for you to get off of all drugs, including alcohol and psychedelics and all this shit, and learn how to focus on getting what you need to get done on a daily basis, to get your survival handled, but then also, try to steer your career in the direction of your life purpose. But see, all of this requires taking material responsibility, not just spiritual responsibility, but human responsibility. So we got to take the ego out of the shadow too in this work. And that's something that is really hard to teach because a lot of this work is kind of prima facie centered on correcting the ego. Okay, friends, hopefully this was a good video. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.